out here, but let's just watch a little bit of video and then we'll get her on up here, shall we? Cheers.
I can't have friends.
She's got a boyfriend of yours. See what you are?
She's never had a boyfriend, she's too shy.
What's that?
You've always been a disappointment to me for your own.
To what? I'll tell you that. You want to be seen as the good governor, the fair governor, but really you just want to be liked.
I learned nothing from you. The little display has nothing to do with the officers we do, and I want something.
I've got a steel plate in my ankle and 16 bloody screws.
The president doesn't need assistance. You didn't answer my question.
You can do this, Peter. All of it.
Oh, no! It's not going the vampire.
Vera,
Get out.
please
Get out.
listen.
Just get out. Get out. You fucking reckless. All freedom to face justice. She doesn't know what she wants. You compromised yourself and you compromised me. I went out on a limb to have you reinstated. You have no backbone, no morals, no conscience whatsoever, and the thought of sharing a bed with you makes me physically sick.
Keep moving!
I'm giving birth. You want me to move? You can fucking carry me. I will not let you destroy me.
Took a fucking letter out of this prison.
Let's take him bury a fucking prisoner alive. She didn't dig her way out. What is wrong with you, you crazy fucking lunatic? If you go near my baby again, I'll kill you myself.
Your baby.
I was going to poison first. So what if I end up like her? What if my daughter ends up like him? I almost became that monster. Whatever happens, I will never be like you.
Alright, Wentworth, come Sydney. You know her as Vera, Lydia, Tim, Bennett, but put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Kate Atkinson! She wanted to watch the video. We'll get you a copy of it so you can have a look, right?
Oh, I could hear a little bit back there, and it's so nostalgic. Like I'm thinking, I shot some of those scenes 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's right, 10 years. It's the 10-year anniversary this year of the first season of Wentworth, right?
It's that funny phenomenon of feeling like another world and then still being really close to you, you know? Like it's so weird.
So we were talking with Katrina before, and you as well as Katrina. Yeah, don't worry about it. One of the OGs from season one, right through to the final season.
Yeah. So me, Kat, Jackie, and
Robbie. Yeah.
100 X.
100 eps.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's impressive.
Yeah. And we were in all of them. It wasn't like there were 100. Yeah.
No, that's right. You were in all of them.
I state the obvious. I guess we were in all of them.
I've sort of been leading with a question which is, it's been slightly difficult to answer, but for you, professionally, personally, what has the whole experience of working on Wentworth kind of, you know, what's it meant to you and what have you taken away from it?
That is a big question. I think the first thing that, you know, most of us would say is that it was a gift of a job professionally, because in this country you know, doing a long-running show, any kind of stability in the creative industries is quite hard, and to have that kind of longevity is a gift because it gives you some stability and gives you, you know, a long, interesting, challenging, creative life. But you may not get 8 years on a show that is this groundbreaking and this satisfying. You know, you might just sign away your life to a show that just, you know, dawdles along. But to spend 8 years being constantly challenged and constantly having to adapt and constantly learning new things, it's such a gift. So at a professional level, it's quite unique. You know, certainly even 10 years ago, to be a 50-year-old woman in the Australian industry, there's no way you were getting roles like that. So it was a really unique job. And then, of course, personally, you spend that much time with really good people in, you know, a pretty intense working environment. Oh my God, I can just see so many familiar faces everywhere I look. I see familiar faces. You make extraordinary friends, and you're friends. We all get on and we have a great time together. But it is a small industry in Australia. We all go through, you know, professional ups and downs. It doesn't work here like it does in America, where you do one show and you're financially set up for the rest of your life. You know, we all go through a bit. And good actors, good team players look after each other. So, I mean, it's just a stupid anecdote, but, you know, we're all back out there auditioning now, and Bernie is a gun at helping people. So these days we have to film our own auditions. You don't go into a casting director's room and we have to film them.
It's all changed.
And we all lean on each other. Like, you'll say, could you read for me, Bernie? Could you shoot it? Could you cut it together? You know. And yeah, so you end up with a bit of a team, and the team that came out of Wentworth were a bit good, and also everyone's stupidly talented. So we were, we were very lucky.
I think the word family as well comes up a lot as well, because the experience of working on the show, through the course of the show, I think it's fostered a real environment of a sense of family with us all, and not just the actors. It's like we were saying before. It's about all of the crew and all of even the people in the production office and the writers and stuff like that. You know, I feel like we're all one big family, and it's just evidenced as well for, you know, when we're all catching up in the green room out there and stuff. It's like seeing old family friends again, isn't it?
Well, and that kind of working group where obviously when we're working together, the work is paramount and we want to make good work, and but when you work that closely with people, we're really interested in each other's lives as well. You know? So you know, you want to hear what's going on in each other's lives and people's kids and houses and renovations. So, you know, we're all quite ordinary, you know, just ordinary kind of banal conversations.
She's a farmer.
So, the family, you know, I was thinking about this because people say, you know, it was kind of like a family environment, and of course when we were shooting, it was like family because we were literally in each other's faces all the time. So we're not in each other's faces now, and it's not like, you know, we get together and there's the drunk uncle, but you know, we do. But you know, we might not actually see each other nearly as often as we used to, but when we did, there's that kind of, you know, we sometimes don't see a family member, you see them maybe at Christmas, you know, but you're connected, you know, and you can just pick up where you left off, and there's a history. So it's that kind of family. It's not like I'm calling Bernie every day going, how was your day?
Every other day.
But, you know, if we don't see each other for a while, there is this kind of, unbroken connection.
Yeah. Now, the character of Vera.
Yep.
Let's talk about her for a little moment. Let's unpack this character of Vera. Now, as professionals, and like you were saying, this has been a real gift of a job professionally for us all. But you kind of, you really like the fact that, you know, this type of television that Wentworth is, it's you experience these great character arcs, right? And sometimes it's an episodic arc, like, you know, where my character goes through something in this episode and then kind of comes out the other side of the episode. And then sometimes it's the series arc where your character kind of has this arc. And I think for Vera, there's really great and beautiful defined series arc, right? That really goes all, you know, that we travel with the character over this beautiful arc from episode 1 right through to the final episode.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot to unpack, but you know, it's been beautiful to watch this great kind of transition. Well, I guess transition for the character, but the growth and the journey that she's been on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be falsely modest, but, you know, I can't take full credit for that because, you know, I'm responding to what the writers give me. So that is in, you know, a lot of that is in their hands. But I think in the round table I just had with some of you, we were talking about Vera in the first season. And, you know, when you start shooting a show, you don't even know you're going to get a second season. So playing Vera in the first season, you really had to surrender to the fact that she was kind of the anti-hero. You can't go, well, I'm going to play this as though I'm going to evolve into this, you know, kind of self-sufficient, empowered. You know, I had to really, watch everyone else kind of muscling up and beating each other up and going, I have to really commit to the place I play in this world. And she's a different kind of prisoner. She's a different kind of... And it was not easy to surrender to go, I'm the least heroic person in this space. But that's my job, so I got to go there. So it was really... it was really astonishing and liberating and humbling that the writers went, we want to see where we can... So that's their job, and then of course I've got to respond to what they've given me. And then, one of the beauties of doing a season for this long is that there's a little bit of an alchemy between the writers and the actors. It's not like I go into the writers' room and say, this is what I want, but they can see what my strengths and weaknesses are, and they won't always play to your strengths. They won't go, oh, Atkinson's really good at that, we'll just keep giving it. They'll go, Kate's really good at that. We reckon we can take her there. She'll probably resist it and find it really challenging, but we want to see this, you know. So there was a real kind of alchemy to that. So I don't think even they thought Vera was going to go where she did, but then it just grows over time. And the other thought that I had, because it is a big conversation, the other thought that I had when you were talking about series arcs and season arcs and series arcs, and with Vera, I'm going to sound like a bit of a wanker. I kind of think that the drama of a scene, of every scene you play, is that you should be slightly different at the end of the scene to the way you were at the beginning of the scene. Maybe not existentially or, you know, wholly, but with Vera I felt like just something chiseled away every single scene I played. So I guess that's maybe how the writers and I ended up coming up with this bigger picture growth. Because everyone she had to have contact with everyone, every officer, every prisoner, everyone she came into contact with had an impact on her. So every scene I played, someone damaged me or encouraged me or pressed me or taught me. You know, every single person did something different to her. And I think we all did that as actors. Like, there was no one on that set that I didn't learn something from. So, yeah. So I just thought that on a microcosmic level, she changed every scene. You know?
Katrina was speaking before, and she was kind of joking, but she said, "You bloody screws! You didn't really have to kind of do that much heavy lifting because you were in the position of power, so you didn't."
Dare she?
Very dare she. Very dare she. But I think in your case that's definitely not true. And I think there's. I just kind of thought of it then, and it may sound like I'm being wanky again. But was there a kind of early on in Vera's, kind of development, or story arc and kind of character arc? Do you think there was some sort of, I guess, a narrative parallel in that she was a screw, she was a prison guard, and she could go home every night, but she was in her own kind of prison?
Yeah.
And that was a kind of a parallel sort of thing that you would be kind of exploring?
Yeah, and again, some of this is accidental. I absolutely thought, when I said I had to kind of really reconcile myself in that first scene, the fact that I was the least heroic person I thought, how does that fit into the bigger story that we're trying to tell with this world? And that world was about, survival under the most difficult circumstances, and everyone's circumstances were different. But how do I fit into that theme? And it was about going, well, how am I captive? And she was captive to her own self-image, to her own, brutalised self-esteem and all of that kind of stuff, which might sound, might sound patronising if you're the one that gets to walk out the gates at the end of the night, but I still think she was there were probably some of the women behind bars who were more empowered than Vera was. So that was a definite decision. It was definitely, the decisions I made were about, how is she imprisoned? How is she, not able to break the bonds of whatever it is that holds her down? And then the cycle of that was interesting in that, I'm preaching to the choir here, so I won't kind of chronicle it, but we all know she went from that to kind of being steered by Ferguson to combating Ferguson to usurping Ferguson to becoming, she went through all of these different phases.
Ferguson.
And then I thought, in my mind, there was this little cyclical moment towards the end where Vera ended up being stuck in that siege environment with the rest of the prisoners, and I felt that was like her coming full circle again and going, I'm hostage with you guys now, and I've been distant from you, I've been the governor to you, I've been superior to you, I've punished you, I've alienated myself from you. And then in that siege episode, and to me, it was kind of reached its peak when Boomer and Lizzie had to deliver her baby, that suddenly she had to reconnect with the prisoners and remember that she was actually not that far removed from them. And it also helped me justify how, this woman who had been so obsessed with sitting in that governor's chair, why she chose to relinquish that chair to Will Jackson and take on a role that was a little bit more grassroots with the women. It was this kind of cycle of wanting to be, their ally again. Did someone say wanker?
One of the people here asked Katrina what was her favourite season ending, and she said season 7, which was the siege. Do you think that is that for you one of your favourite endings of seasons?
Not favourite in fun.
No.
But it was a real insight to me, and I know Katrina was joking when she said the prisoners did a lot of the heavy lifting. But to be honest, the torment and the conflict and the psychological violence that Vera encountered, it was internal. Like it was, that's the kind of dramatic space that I like to work in. I don't really want to punch people, but I did have to do a lot of that psychological stuff, and sitting in that laundry and for 3 days watching people be, killed and brutalised, and I thought, God, the actors who've played the inmates for the last 7 seasons have done this a lot. And I hadn't had to do that, and I had just an insight and a sympathy for I mean, as actors, and, you know, as real people, as actors having to process that stuff. So it was a very collegiate, very incredible ensemble environment in that siege thing. The delivery of the baby, again, you know, I mean, fun. That's a strong word. But I tell you what I really liked about that scene was, at first I mean, just 20 friends, and we're just recording this. 20 friends. When I read that scene, I was like, oh, you're kidding me. You're shitting me. She's going to have the baby in the fucking boiler room with the... So I had a really good conversation with Kev Carlin, the director, and
talked about Kev a bit.
Yeah, and I said, I think there's something to be gained in this scene that for me is more dramatically satisfying than just watching a woman go through the physical arduousness and trauma of delivering her first child under those circumstances. I mean, that's a given. I mean, you know, I don't have to spell it out to you. That's not going to be great. So what I wanted the scene to be about, I didn't want it to be all about me. I thought what was interesting dramatically was for this woman who had gone through this incredibly rocky road with these prisoners, that ultimately she's completely vulnerable to them. She's got two women who she has a very long and mostly good, but not all, good history with. And I just thought there was something much more emotionally satisfying about it being about these three women doing something together. And so I really liked the way Kev shot it. You know, it's like, you know, that it was about the response of the three of us to this momentous thing. And I literally, physically and metaphysically could not have done it without those two women. So I was really, when I saw the final outcome of how that scene was cut, I was really happy with it.
Interestingly, like when you say you didn't want it to be about Vera specifically, but it is so about each of the three characters in that particular scene have a really interesting connection to what's going on there. You know, with Boomer's like she's delivering a baby, and that's all she wants, and then Liz is the kind of the ultimate mother in the prison and
who's
stuff.
never forgiven herself for, you know, kind of leaving her kids.
Yeah, so a really fascinating dynamic that happens.
And I also thought that it was, you know, of all the moments we've seen Vera grow and change, and, you know, people talk about, you know, worry about, I thought, you know, to push a kid out of your bits. And I've never delivered a child. I was like, this is about as tough as it gets. Like when my friends tell me their delivery stories, I'm like, I'm sorry? Sorry what? I
got a paper cut the other day and it really hurt.
I just think that women can do that. I just think that is, it's something else. Yeah. So I kind of thought that was kind of almost, you know, the peak of her powers, you know, doing that.
It is. It's an incredible thing. I've been present for the birth of both of my kids, and I've seen what my wife Sonia has had to endure in that, and it is just astonishing the kind of the empowerment, but just the kind of the commitment to this incredibly primal thing is just, you know, is like you sit there in awe of it, completely in awe of it. So.
But I did. That was a very unique season for me. So I did have to do things. I think I've heard Susie Porter say this actually. That, you know, people look at those really physically arduous scenes and go, "Oh, they're the toughest." I actually don't think they are. I think there's more psychologically complex scenes where you're a bit too much in your head. You're really thinking about your acting. It's like, oh, I'm acting. When you are in that physical space, you just go into this other zone, and it actually, for me, it actually becomes a little bit easier because you're not overthinking it. You're literally just getting your body and your breathing and your, you know, stuff into this zone where you've got no choice.
The sweat was real.
Oh, was it? Some of it was. Some of it was. Some of it was. Yeah, actually, yeah. I did the squat.
You did the squat.
I had some, yeah. So
You don't want to
some
elaborate on
solid
that.
squat
Okay,
quads
it's
by the end of it.
squat,
Yeah. By the end.
We'll come to some questions in a second, but I remember also when we were shooting, one of the things that I most appreciated working on the show was the fact that we got to rehearse, and rehearsal was such a big part of creating something on the day when we shoot it that we really felt was ready. You know what I mean? And so you get these scripts. We've been talking about the scripts, how they're amazing. You know, the writers have done an incredible job with the scripts. So you think, and then it's slightly an unusual thing in TV that you get specifically scheduled time to rehearse. But we would find ourselves in the room, he was always in the room with the director and stuff, so you're going through your scenes and stuff like that, and it was actually a really great way of starting the momentum for a scene so that when you get to the point of shooting it, you're ready, and it's ready to fly.
And we still don't get a lot of rehearsal done. You
Some is
barely
better, no.
get to scratch the surface. But I think what was important on our show was not like theatre where you go, well, let's work out the blocking and then we work from there on, you know. We didn't actually kind of necessarily, there was a few obviously stunts and big ticket scenes where we'd have to block them out a bit. But, you know, just for example, the stuff between you and I, you'd have enough time where you could go, well, that's superficially what we need to make this scene work. But we've got 20 minutes where you could go, what else can we give it? Like, what other layer is going on here? Or could we just interrogate that bit? Or would it be more interesting? So we did have enough time where you weren't rehearsing it, so you turn up and say and go, I know exactly what you're going to do. But we knew we were on the same page of, you know, where we would like it to go, the potential to just make it, you know, just elevate it a little bit somehow, you know, or give it a little detail that was surprising more.
Yeah. And then we were talking also before about Robbie.
Why? He's so boring. So boring.
Maybe we can have a quick discussion about this, because I was saying that, you know, when we were shooting in the governor's office, for instance, it was often like a whole day of shooting for a whole block. All of the scenes in the governor's office, whenever we'd shoot them all at one time. And
so
by the time
we'd lose our minds.
We'd lose our minds. So the time it gets to about just after lunch, about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and shit just started getting like mental. People were like losing their minds. We had times where we just could not stop laughing, and the whole crew was cracking up. And then Robbie would sometimes get stuck on one word, and you kind of, like a normal actor would go, oh, okay, I fucked that up, and they go, yeah, and then you come back and you kind of correct it and you do it again. Whereas he would get stuck on the same word again, and then he starts going, fuck, shit, man, and we're like, Robbie, it's okay, and he would go into this dark place, spiral.
And also, the very final season when we were shooting during stage 4 lockdown in Melbourne was just stressful for everyone. But actually, I should say, just going back to the question about favourite scenes or seasons, that season where Bernie and Robbie and I were conspiring around the whole Ferguson being buried alive thing. I just loved that season. I don't know why. It was so absurd. The things we had to... I mean, that was one where we really had to look at the scene and go, you know, we realise this is drama. This is not real life. We've kind of got to make it authentic, but we kind of got to lift it into slightly...
Without jumping the shark.
Yeah. And it was really fun, actually. It was really fun. But we did, we'd have 2 days straight in the governor's office, which, you know, grey walls, pretty small space, very dialogue-based scenes. So you really would have to find points of interest and conflict and really look for, you know, because they were never going to be the most visually, I mean, apart from the faces, obviously, they weren't going to be the most visually interesting scenes. So we went a bit bonkers.
But then we had that where we talked also about that whole antidote of some of the content that we had to kind of do in the show was goofing off and laughing and stuff like that. And Pamela Ray, who plays the freak, was the biggest goofball of all time, right? And in that season, I just remember, we were doing, and they're shooting a scene where she's inside the box, the coffin. She's buried alive, and she's bashing the thing. There's dirt coming through, and then she just cracks some sort of gag, and everyone's just cracking up. And it is a great antidote to some of the stuff we had to do. Is to keep it light and always be kind of laughing, right?
Yeah, and we were very lucky with our crew who kind of knew where the line was. You've got to have a degree of levity, and then there's sometimes where everyone's got to be quiet and serious, and someone's got some serious shit to do. But there were the clowns, there were the culprits were pretty regularly robbing, and we were all very good at. And again, I think that last season where the culture on set was so different, we were all isolated from each other. There was a particular level of ridiculousness that the actors had to keep up to kind of keep everyone going. But yeah, we were very lucky.
When we came out of COVID, there was this, in terms of talking about collegiate atmosphere, that when we were discussing how the production was going to come back after this big lockdown that Melbourne went into at the start of COVID, and it was completely uncharted territory. And I remember we was all on Zoom because we were all isolated at the time and everything, and we all were on the same page, and we were not willing to compromise the story and the narrative of this show and stuff, and say, let's just kind of homogenise or kind of just sort of clean up the whole action of the show and keep a distance from everybody. We're like,
make a prison show where everyone socially distances, and we're like,
we're not going to make that show. This is not what we're making here and stuff. And I remember it was quite incredible to see this sort of, we were all really kind of on the same page saying, this is the only way we can make the show, so let's find out a way to make this happen. And this template that we came up with, which was the sort of
became the industry standard.
That's right, yeah. It became this industry standard template that, up until a little while ago was still that kind of COVID protocol that we're all sort of instrumental in putting together. I think there's a sense of pride in that.
Yeah. But ahead of saying, we said we won't compromise on the show. There were two things. We won't compromise on the show. If we're going to make Wentworth, we're going to make Wentworth. But we're not going to do it if everyone can't be safe and healthy. So it's basically two things. And until they could come up with a system that we all approved, it was all, from top down really, like the production would come to us with these ideas, and then we would say yay, nay, and then the crew would, similar situation. So it was an incredibly,
We got it over the line, and the government gave a special dispensation to keep shooting this show. And everyone, there was like curfew, it was like full lockdown. Everyone had to stay in their houses, and we still got to come into work every day. We were very lucky, and we did not get one case over the course of the whole 12 weeks that we shot from that point on, which was incredible.
I did get from St Kilda to the western suburbs. I had my papers. I never got pulled up once.
I did do the thing, we're driving home at midnight when there was not a car on the road, and I was coming into the Burnie Tunnel, and I went, I can swerve between lanes. And I just went in. They must have thought I was completely drunk on the cameras, but I was just like, yeah, I can do this,
Sure, this is starting to realise, I read the room, mate, we're in Sydney. I've just realised it sounds like, you have no idea what we went through down here.
They had their own lockdown up here. That's all right. Not quite as fierce as Melbourne, but that's all right. Let's have a few questions. I'm sure everyone's got one.